It's officially fall and it's time for yard transformation. Hi, I'm Heidi.
And I'm Rod.
From Garden Crossings, and tonight Rod is going to be planting up our planters with all of the beautiful fall plants that we have. He went to the greenhouse today and went shopping. And by shopping, what did you do? You loaded up a trailer with stuff, so you had plenty of options once you got home.
Oh, I'm going to plant all that.
Okay, well there's a will, there's a way, I suppose. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead, and by we I mean he is gonna go ahead and get all these planters planted up. You did a little prep work though ahead of time, didn't you? Kind of laying things out just to make the video quicker, but also too that way you knew what you wanted to use, right?
I wasn't trying to make the video quicker, I was trying to make the night go faster.
Yeah, that is true.
Because it's getting dark already.
I know, this is crazy. That's what's bad about fall, you lose your nighttime. But anyway, so let's go ahead and see what you've got planned for all these planters.
Perfect. All right, so this is this is one of our largest AquaPots in front of our garage, and I've laid out plants. Looks like it's all planted, but it's not. So I'm going to plant them here shortly. But I did pack them pretty tight.
Pretty tight.
Well, I always tend to do that because I want instant gratification. And being fall, how much is it going to fill out anyways?
Yeah, that's true. So these will probably last for what, maybe it's mid-September, so maybe a month and a half here in Michigan.
Depends on when the first frost is, which most of the stuff is frost hardy. Maybe not so much with the millet, but
right. All right.
We'll see.
Well, I'll let you go ahead and start planting, and I'll kind of talk about the plants that you chose and why you chose them.
All right. I feel like I should just walk away and leave it. Can we water it every day?
I know, right? It looks pretty good like that, but you got to get the plants into the soil so they do get watered. Even though this time of year plants don't need a lot of water. So you got, I told me to tell you, yeah, Jester millet there, and that you're going to use as your thriller. So Jester millet can be planted in full sun to full shade areas. Potentially it can get up to 36 to 48 inches tall, which I'm not sure if it's going to actually get that tall here this late in the season. So we'll see if it happens or not. But basically you're just using it for the back of the pot, kind of the thriller, just to give a little bit of height to this container. And I like the different variations going on in that grass. I think it looks pretty nice. If you are from a warmer climate, that millet is hardy in zones 8 to 11. So yeah, for some of you, these might be more perennials. For us, we're using these all as annuals. The next plant that he planted is the Henry II purple aster. These like to be grown in full sun. Our pot actually is westward facing, so it gets from like noon until the end of the day. The Henry purple aster, they get about 18 inches tall and 18 inches wide, kind of creating a nice, just mounding look. Now, are they going to get 18 inches in this pot? I doubt it. But it is hardy in zones 5 to 9. So if that was planted out in the landscape, it would be a perennial for many of you who are watching right now. The next plant he has is a celosia. And let's see, which one is this one? This one is Kilo's Fire Red, also known as a coxcomb. That too likes to be planted in full sun areas. It'll get 12 to 18 inches tall. And right now it is, I would say it was about 12 inches tall. So we're going to use that kind of as a middle of the pot type plant. Not really going to be our thriller, but it could be used as a thriller. And celosia, those are annuals, definitely zone 10 and 11. Next, all right, so these we don't have tags for, so I'm just going to show, well, I'll just tell you. So this is a garden mum called Moon Glow Yellow. So just adding a little splash of yellow into the container. And are they all Moon Glow Yellow, Rod?
Yeah, all three of them.
All
I got
three
a
of them?
wave kind of going through here.
Right through the middle there. So those are in bud right now, and with garden mums, they need cool nights, right, to go to flower. Is that how that works?
Short days, cool nights, yeah.
Okay. It's like I know there's a little bit of a trick. I mean, obviously, different mums bloom at different times, so you can have like early blooming mums, mid and late blooming mums. We typically don't grow the early blooming mums here because we don't want them flowering in August. So we typically go with the mid and late bloomers. The next plant is Actually gonna get rid of this pile here. The next plant is Alternaria. Wow, why is that a tongue twister? I don't know. Plum Dandy. And this particular annual gets 10 to 16 inches tall. And in this container here, it's not going to have time to get that big. But this is a great annual to use in your spring and summer planters, as well as in ground plantings, because it does get nice and tall. And with that nice deep burgundy foliage, it really does add a nice pop into containers like you're seeing here, but also into garden beds. Definitely an annual in zone 10 through 11. So for us here, not much chance that one's going to come back at all. So the next plant we have that he's doing that beautiful yellow foliage, it's called Yellow Zebra, a variegated potato vine. Now, I don't know, Rod, like we have like the sweet potato vines that we grow, that doesn't look like those. Do you think they're kind of the same or different? I don't know. But anyways, they like to be grown in full sun. They only get about 6 to 8 inches, although I'm not so sure that that's actually right, because I've seen that plant bigger than 6 to 8 inches. And that too is definitely an annual. Of course, we have to use some super bells or super tunias in our planters, because those definitely are just a beautiful splash of color. We are choosing to use the super bells black currant punch. And I'm going to show you these plants closer once he's done planting. I just don't want to get in his way right now. But Super Bell's Black Currant Punch, this is a great plant to use in spring and summer containers, as well as fall containers. They get about 6 to 12 inches tall, but they're also a trailing annual. So they're going to, ideally, they're going to trail over the front of this container. So we'll see if we stay warm enough, long enough for them to get, enough growth on them to do just that. And then the last plant he planted right up front and center there, that is the Lobularia, and he chose the Moonlight Night, which is kind of a very soft, pale white, or I don't know, an off-white would be a good way of saying it. They like to be grown in full sun to part sun, and typically they'll get 8 to 12 inches tall. Those are great for in containers because they trail over really nice, but they're also a nice plant to plant in the ground. They create just little mounds of just a ton of that soft off-white flower throughout the summer. Lobularia are hardy in zones 9 to 11. So for some of you in the warmer climates, who knows, that one might live all winter for you, but we're not really, for us here in Michigan, certainly not a plant that's going to overwinter. Now I should talk about the garden mums, because I really didn't talk about hardiness zone on those. So we sell our garden mums as annuals. And can they be perennials? Yes, they absolutely can be perennials in certain areas. Now in zone 5, we have had them overwinter here, but we don't like to sell them as perennials. And the reason why is because with garden mums, so many people will plant them in containers like we're doing here. And then when they're all done flowering, they'll go to plant them in the ground, and they're not going to overwinter if you do that. And the reason is that plant, once the flowers are all faded and spent, that plant really has no energy left in it to put roots down into the ground to get it to, overwinter. So if you were to take one of these mums and perhaps plant it in August directly into the ground, you're going to have a far better chance of that plant overwintering than waiting until late September, October, when it's all done flowering and hoping to have it overwinter. Now that's true for us here in Michigan. For you in the South, maybe it would be different, but I think too, once that plant goes to flower, it doesn't really have a lot of energy left to send its roots down. So here you can see the nice grass there, or the millet in the back, the celosia, the nice mums, and then the alternaria looks nice. I love that little splash of yellow. That kind of is going to really look pretty once those mums start blooming. Just a really neat mix of flowers. So we'll take updates throughout the fall too, so you can see how this planter is doing. For this process, Rod is going to be placing these mum plants down into the containers that we have in the ground. So these are just a 10-inch pot that we always leave in the ground. It's kind of like a placeholder so that the rocks, we don't have to dig in the rocks every year, and it just holds the rocks back. So in the spring, we have a pot that's exactly that same size that we drop in. But with the garden mums, they're close enough to the same size that we're just going to drop. Is that an 8 or 9 inch?
That's a 9 inch.
A 9-inch pot. Yep. So we're putting a 9-inch into a 10-inch. And then we have drippers. So he's going to put 2 drippers into those mums. That way they get dripped once a day.
Right.
And then, yeah, that's pretty much how we do that. So this is just a super quick and easy way of transforming the landscape from summer into fall. And the thing I like best about this is, like I said, if we had to dig in these rocks every time we were planting something in here, they would just be a mess. There would be dirt everywhere, and yeah, it would look awful. So by keeping those pots in the ground all the time, it's been a time saver for sure, but it's also just made this process very easy. Now obviously if we didn't want 5 plants here in this landscape, we'd have to do something different, but with what we plant in here, 5 plants always works. So this is really nice. We're going to put videos below as well showing you the process of the annuals when we do this in the spring, and we'll also put a video to the cleanup in the fall, which I think you're going to find very interesting to watch, and we'll put those links in the description below on the YouTube channel. So if you are watching this on Facebook, head to YouTube so you can see all those links. See how quick and easy that was? No digging required. It was just dropping them in.
All right, this one I'm doing a little bit different. I'm actually using Beyond Midnight Caryopteris shrub. It's a great fall color blue. It will flower quite a while, and it's just starting, so I bet I got 3 good weeks of flowering, if not longer. And I'm going to put that in the centerpiece of this AquaPot and then run those items around it. So again, Heidi will talk to you about what's in there, but I wanted to show you the shrub that I'm using. I'm hoping that when we're finished with it, we'll just either probably have to put this one in the garage for the winter, because I think it's hardy to zone 5, but we've had some troubles in overwintering in our yard. So planting it in October is probably not going to be the best thing for it. But I'll probably take it out, overwinter it in the garage, and then plant it out next spring.
So while he's removing some soil, because it obviously has it's a gallon he's planting in there, so it's got more soil volume, so he's got to remove some. But the Caryopteris Beyond Midnight, it's also called the Bluebeard. It's hardy in zones 5 to 9, and it can get about 2.5 foot tall and 2.5 foot wide once that plant is mature. It does like to be grown in a full sun area. Nice thing about it though is once it's established, it's drought tolerant, and like he said, it's long blooming. There's not a lot of shrubs really that have fall interest or that start blooming this late in the season, but Caryopteris is definitely one that does start blooming late summer and into the fall. So in the landscape at the greenhouse, they just started blooming, I think it was just around Labor Day or so. And to the unique coloration of blue, a lot of times this time of year you're going to see a lot of yellows and oranges in the landscape, but to add some fresh new purple in is kind of exciting. So another thing I think to point out with the Caryopteris is its deer resistance is high. So it's a nice deer resistant shrub. All right, next he's going to put some lemon coral sedum in, and this is an annual sedum. Lemon coral gets about 3 to 10 inches tall, again depending on how long the growing season is. At the greenhouse we did some mass planting of the lemon coral, and they did reach their mature size by the end of the summer. In the fall here though, they're not going to get much bigger than what we're currently seeing, which is just a couple inches tall and probably about 4 or 5 inches wide. Lemon coral likes to be planted in full sun to part sun areas. One thing I will say though is for those of you in the south, I think lemon coral would actually be just a little bit better with just a little bit more of that part shade situation. It does get a little bit, I'm going to say burnt or pale looking or sunburnt here in Michigan in full sun. So I think for the warmer climates, you might even experience that more. One interesting thing though is that we have had lemon coral come back, even though it's not a perennial here. It's hardy in zones 7 to 11. So for some of you, you might notice that that lemon coral does come back. Also, he's planting in a few marigolds. We've got the bright yellow marigold. And they like to be planted in full sun areas. So what do you have, Rod? 4 sedum, 3 marigolds?
4.
4 marigolds,
And
and then 4 peppers?
2 peppers.
2 peppers, and the peppers are kind of just right up in front, right?
Yep.
Okay, so the peppers that he's using, these are an ornamental pepper that likes to be grown in full sun. Looks like it's called AquaPots multicolor. They're going to be actually, I don't know, purple is the color that we're seeing right now, although the picture does show some shades of pink or red. So who knows? We'll see if they do color up a little bit of red. And actually, maybe it's even as that pepper ages, it goes from purple to red. So we'll find out and see. We'll go in and take a closer look here at the plants he used. The peppers, that sedum with that nice chartreuse green, marigold, and then the blue caryopteris. All right, so this is the last planter we're going to do this evening, and let's take a look at what we got in here. So all the planters we've used are AquaPots. So just to kind of let you know that they're all self-watering containers. We'll fill them up. Like I said, we're going to start by filling them up from the top down to saturate all the soil so it can kind of create that wicking effect. And then we'll fill them up probably about once a week or so.
Probably less now.
Well, that's true. Normally the summer you do once a week. So the plants he's planting, he's going quick. In the back we have the Swiss chard there, the bright lights. So we might see a little bit of variation there of oranges and pinks coming through the leaves a little bit. Swiss chard gets about 10 to 12 inches tall. And it is, actually it's an edible. Next he's putting Nemesia. Nemesia is a cool weather annual, although it does do good in the heat of the summer as well here in Michigan. But a lot of times people
Only
will,
this one though, really.
the aromance.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
The other Nemesia is not so much. They're melting.
The new coconut did good though this summer. That one held out really good. So I think the Nemesia, as they're getting new varieties out there, they're more heat tolerant. But Aromance mulberry did fabulous in the heat of the summer. It's fragrant, 10 to 18 inches tall, likes full to part sun areas, and just a beautiful mulberry color flower. Hardy in zone 8 to 10, so we're using it here as an annual.
So here's a repeat of what we used in another one.
Oh yeah, the alternaria. I cannot say that word. The plum dandy, and this is for full sun to part sun and 10 to 16 inches tall. This one is a zone 10 to 11, so definitely an annual. So Rod, in these planters that you're planting, is there certain plants that you're more concerned about if we get an early frost that will be more affected than others?
Probably the first one we did, the bigger pots with the, millet, jester.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Other than that,
sedum doesn't like it cold either, does it?
No, sedum will.
It'll handle a little bit of cold.
Yeah.
Okay.
Most of the stuff I'm doing is all cold, and most of it should go down to 27, 28 degrees.
Okay.
Before you're really gonna start seeing damage.
All right. And do you know what mums you used?
I think we're coming back to Jacqueline Yellow, and I got two of them in here.
2 Jacqueline Yellow. All right.
Yeah.
So with these quart-size mums, the reason we grow quart-size mums is for this exact reason. They're the perfect size for hanging on baskets or container plantings,
Window boxes.
Even window boxes. So when we grow these mums in a quart size, they're only going to get really as big as that quart size container allows it to. So these aren't going to continue and get as big as they would if they were planted out in the landscape or even into a bigger container. So sometimes people say, these mums are so small. Well, yeah, they are. They're a quart size mum, and that's the size they're going to be. But if you plant it in your landscape, they'll probably get 14, 16 or so inches tall and wide if you do plant them in the landscape and then they come back next year. So
it's the same mums we plant in our 9-inch, and you've seen the 9-inch going into the ground. We didn't use Jacqueline's, but
it's what, 1 plug per pot?
Yeah, these are planted 3 weeks later, and then the pot itself restricts the growth a little bit. So.
We've had a lot of people love that size because they want to do just what we're doing, where the 8 and 9 inch mums are just too big for creating the combinations.
When you take I can get 3 8-inch mums in here, but then all of a sudden you see this.
Looks like a triangle.
Yeah, it doesn't look nice. Where here you tuck everything in, different habits, different textures, and they look fine.
So you did more of the ornamental pepper. Oh, there's a little red coming out on all those ornamental peppers.
And then I'm still putting a sedum in the front.
Yeah.
Sedum in the front. So this pot was kind of a repeat, except with the Swiss chard and the Nemesia. But
once the mums start blooming, that's when we're going to really see the most color come through. So yeah, so they look pretty nice. Take a step back and show you kind of what we've got here. So obviously you can see we've got some algae we need to clean up here from our hanging baskets from dripping all summer. So we'll come in and power wash that and get that all cleaned up. We do have 2 hanging baskets we need to do yet, but Rod forgot to bring, did you forget to bring the liners? Yeah, so I forgot to bring the liners home. So we'll have to do those in another video. So we'll be sure to show you that. Oh, also, while I wasn't around, he planted a few of the, I think these are Rudbeckias. So they got a lot of buds, so they'll look like little sunflowers here in the back. So yeah, the pots all looking good. The mums are in bud, just showing just a touch of color. So those we will be able to, you'll be able to kind of grow into the landscape, meaning color up into the landscape. So yeah, so I think we are pretty good here. Oh, I'm going to actually show you the Rudbeckia we used. It's Rudbeckia Carolina, Black-Eyed Susan. They get about 14 to 16 inches tall, and they are hardy in zones 7 to 10. So for some of you, they may overwinter. But yeah, so ready for fall. Plants are all planted. Now we're just wait on the mums coloring up. Definitely don't want that to happen overnight because I do want them to last, you know, a decent amount of time here into the fall. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. If you're new to our station, we welcome you to subscribe. I'm Heidi.
And I'm Rod.
From Garden Crossings.